Hi, Alona. Thank you for coming on the podcast. Really appreciate it.
It's so lovely to be on your podcast. Thank you for asking me to do this.
No, you're very welcome. So yeah, I see that on your profile. You post some like really nice kind of content. Like quotes and positive content, motivation. Um, so like kind of like what kind of got you into that, and like what is it that you're kind of doing at the moment?
That's a great question. So, what got me started on Instagram is actually my blog. I created my own website and just started blogging from
Mm.
mid-August in 2020. And I write a lot about self-development and just basically focusing on inner and outer development. And so I started the Instagram to sort of showcase my new updates on the blog and as well as just share some positivity with the world.
No, it's awesome, and I think like that's really positive and an important thing to do because I mean people can always do with motivation, a bit of inspiration, and a bit of like positivity, to fuel them in their day. And I think if you can
Exactly.
if you can put something out there that's positive and someone that provides value to other people, then I think it's pretty rewarding.
You're right. I love what you said about adding value because it's not just about positivity. I feel like, I mean, we're all here, in my opinion, for a reason. And it's sort of to develop yourself and be in a constant state of self improvement. And if I could help out in that sense, even just a little bit, I absolutely would love that.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think like it's pretty contagious how we can put content out there and you just don't know, like it could have a difference, positive impact on someone else's day, and could that
Hmm.
inspire them to then do something, or even do the same thing that you're doing, to create a blog, to put content out there on their Instagram or social media.
Exactly. It's like you and your podcast. I'm sure you
Mm.
spread so much positivity and so much, like content that people really enjoy and look forward to.
Yeah, no, I mean, when I first started doing it, I didn't really take it too seriously. I didn't really think much would happen. Um, and then, when you start making content, you begin to connect with people, you kind of start getting a
Hmm.
bit of feedback. And it can be quite amazing. It can be quite overwhelming, when you think about it, because, your messages and, the content you're putting out there is going worldwide. So it's pretty amazing, with the internet, what you can do today, and the opportunities and the doors that open and the connections that you make, through putting content out there and connecting with people.
You're absolutely right. I love it. And the internet is a double-edged sword, right? But for people to use it in a beneficial sense and for us
Mm.
to be both of us, you and your podcast, me and my website, to contribute to this is an amazing feeling, both for the people we share it with and as well as for ourselves as a learning experience.
Yeah, no, I agree. I definitely agree. It can be double-edged sword, the internet, and I think like it's how you use it. It's almost like it's a tool in some sense. It's like
It
you know
is,
you
yeah.
could you can look at a lot of negativity on the internet. You kind of have to be quite balanced with it. I find you kind of have to
Hmm.
um, try and not take things too personally, and just to try and not look at the negative side if someone's being negative. Like so you kind of develop a bit of a thick skin to it. You kind of it's a bit of a learning process, really.
Right, exactly. And I feel like the way you are in your real life, your personality, and whether you can or cannot control yourself, the way you take things, this will all translate in the way you use the internet as well and what you do online. So before even going on the websites or whatever you go, um, you sort of, that's sort of my message as well. Like you need to be in full control of yourself. And so
Mm.
that will help you in just in general in life and in your approaches to the internet and what you do and what you look up for and search,
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's almost like a mirror. It's almost like a reflection of kind of who you are.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
love that. Hmm.
Um, it's like I think I heard a question today on this guy's podcast, and someone asked, how many times should you post on social media, or what should you post? And I was thinking, well, before you post something, don't post something just for the sake of posting it. Like, if I think
Hmm.
if it resonates with you,
Right,
and it's going to provide value, then do it. Because I think
right, exactly.
sometimes, people, I used to worry about, oh, what do I post? And, should I just post something? Because people say you need to post daily or 3 times a day or 5 times a day. Um,
Hmm.
but it's kind of like, the kind of context and the content that you put out, really, I think. You're like, what do you think?
This was one of the biggest things for me as well when I started out, actually, because growing up, I wish I had a website like this, where it kind of combines everything in terms of inner and outer development. I think especially for girls, but it could
Mm,
relate to any gender as well. But you're right, I absolutely wouldn't upload something on the website or on Instagram or even on my stories if it wasn't something I personally would enjoy looking at. And I feel like it brings some value, or just like, a piece of entertainment and something to share. But in the end, it's something I would love to see.
mm. Yeah, that's it. I think you kind of have to see it from like the other kind of view, isn't it? The other kind, the person who's looking at it, like, what do they think, or what are they
Yeah.
going to take from it? It's a bit like if you go to a restaurant, like, I won't go too much into this, but as an example, because I've worked in hospitality in restaurants and hotels, so I know what it's
Okay.
like to be on the other side of it. So if I go for a meal, um, I understand. Like, how can I put it? So when you
You
give
know
the
what the
serve,
customers want, right?
yes, you give that service, of what you would expect. It's a bit like
Exactly. You're right.
that that with social media.
Hmm. Absolutely.
Do you have a favorite kind of platform that you use with social media?
Definitely Instagram.
Mm,
I actually wasn't on Instagram for such a long time, and I started out with another Instagram account that I have called Flair of Expression, which is my artworks. I post all
mm.
my paintings there. Didn't really focus on having a personal Instagram account. Wasn't I didn't see the point in that. But since I started using it, especially for my website, I've realized like, I mean, some people are really cool on there, and you see so many different ideas, so many different topics being talked about, and you learn. It's a community of learning in my eyes, or at least the people that I follow. So I follow a bunch of accounts, or even if I don't follow them, I always like keep up with what they post, and it's inspirational and it makes you feel good and it gives you ideas and it teaches you, and I really enjoy that, as well as a part of the social interaction as well. That's really cool.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think like, with the internet and, a lot of these social groups, you can really connect with people who you're kind of on the same wavelength as.
Hmm.
You
Yeah.
kind of like find those people who are like similar to you, who have the same interests. And, that's when I say to people, people might be thinking about creating a blog or doing something or a podcast. And I'm like, if you're interested in gardening or you're interested in something, there's going to be other people out there who are interested in that thing as well.
Right, exactly, and you guys learn from each other and you grow together.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think that's kind of the beauty of it. And you can kind of see how far you've come over time. Um,
Yes, yes, exactly. When I started my art account, this was the whole purpose, because I give away a lot of my paintings or I sell them. So to have them all in one place, even like 50 years in the future, if Instagram will still be around, but to look back and just be like, wow, I did all of that. Sometimes now I look at it and I'm like, I don't even remember painting this, but it's there and it's a great memory.
yeah, no, exactly. And I think that's what a lot of people say, isn't it? It's not about just posting something, but you're kind of documenting. It's
Hmm.
like it's almost documenting like evidence, based on what you've done. And um, there's a guy I often talk about who I follow called Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V.
Hmm.
Have
I
you
think
heard
I know
about it?
him. Yeah,
Yeah,
I do.
and he's posted content from you know, the early days of when he started out, and he was doing like wine library, and he's on the early days of YouTube, just talking about wine and
Mm-hmm.
doing reviews, and you can see, like, you know, from like the early 2013 or 2012 when he started doing it, um, you know, up until now, and you can kind of see that documentation of, you know, what that person's been putting out there. Um, so I think that's quite important to do, you know, like just start, just by posting, whatever it is. And
Exactly. It's the experience, you know, you learn as you go along. I read this thing one time about writing, how your first draft will never be the way you want it, you know, it will never be like the perfect draft, but you need to start because you need a baseline to develop upon. And so, even with social media or whatever project you're working on, your business ideas, whatever it is, you need to start somewhere in order to learn as you go along with it.
yeah, no, exactly. And I think, you know, like there's a difference between doing and thinking about it, isn't there? There's, you know, you have to just create it and put it out there. And the thing is, you know, you might create something, put something out there, and you don't know what impact that's going to have on someone or somebody else, or you might inspire someone. Um, you know, I've had a few people on my podcast who then, you know, gone on to do their own, you know, because they quite enjoyed it, and you know, it just kind of gave them that kind of like leverage and that kind of you know, perspective on it.
Push, like a push, right? I
Yeah.
always say the same thing. It's planning versus action. Planners can plan out things, I mean, from today to tomorrow to next year to 10 years from now. But it's the people who put in the action that will actually take a step forward, no matter what it is. And like you said, you never know what kind of impact not only it will have for your readers or your viewers or your listeners, also the kind of impact it will have on you, on what it
Mm.
can teach you, and what kind of people and connections you can make that will further develop you along your journey, which is very honestly awesome if you think about it, because it's like we're so connected
Mm.
right now, to the point where, I mean, yes, there's a lot of negatives online, but not thinking about that, it could be used for something really amazing. And, you know, you benefit from it, you let people benefit from you. So it's like a mutual kind of symbiosis of just going along on the same journey in life.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's, you know, one of the amazing things, you know, like by, you know, connecting with people, you know, making content, and that kind of like ripple effect that, you know, that it can have.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, you know, and you know, we're quite fortunate to be in a world where we have, you know, the internet, mobile devices. Um, you know, like you think 20 years ago, you know, how things used to be, you know, or 30 years ago. And, you know, the tools at our fingertips, really. You know, we could
Yeah.
create a website, do a blog, and you just don't know how things are going to take off, because there's lots of successful people out there who've, you know, started out with nothing, and
Hmm.
then they've just created something, you know, through the internet.
Right, exactly. The world is advancing, and we should kind of stay along with it and keep up with it and advance ourselves,
Mm.
and use what we have, you know, to our benefit. We take all the opportunities we have. So, right now, you're right, we have so many more opportunities than we did back then, or I mean, people did back then.
Mm, mm.
And I'm so grateful for it. And I feel like people should really open up their eyes and use what they have at their fingertips, because it's something extraordinary that they might not even understand right now.
Mm. Yeah, no, exactly. And I think, like, you know, I know a few people who, you know, didn't really know how to use Zoom, you know,
Hmm.
this platform. Um,
Yeah.
and, you know, with just going into it and just a bit of guidance, you know, they're then doing their own videos and doing their own podcasts, and then, you know, they're making their own, their own content, you know, putting like, you know, edited videos together and uploading it to YouTube. So, I mean, it's kind of that, just pushing yourself out your comfort zone, isn't it? Just by, you know, doing those things that may seem a bit, you know, new to you, or things that make you uncomfortable.
Yeah. The scary things to me are the things I love to do. if that makes sense. Like if I'm afraid of something, I feel like I have to do it. Like I have to overcome this because it's going to teach me something really valuable. And it's, you shouldn't look at it, I mean, you should always keep the big picture in your mind. That's a must. But don't look at it as like a full-on journey. You take it step by step, plan by plan. And ultimately, like without a doubt, you will reach where you want to reach if you have good consecutive little plans that lead you to your ultimate goal.
Yeah, no, exactly. I completely agree. Completely agree. It's pretty powerful. I mean, I remember when, during lockdown, when lockdown happened in the UK, I just started doing, kind of doing more podcasts, and
Hmm.
I was doing it on Anchor, on audio, learning how to do that, and then kind of moved to video over time, and it's pretty amazing when when you look back and you see progress. And I think the thing is, in today's world, is that people want instant gratification and instant results, and it doesn't always
Hmm.
work like that.
It doesn't, no. When I first started out my website, it was actually on this free platform that I found, and I created a very basic design, very basic, just everything was, it looked as if it was the early 2000s,
Oh
part of
wow.
that type of, yeah, it was messy, but I loved it and I was so proud of it. And actually this is what led one of my friends to find the website and be like, Aliona, like if you would like, I would totally help you create your own and make it, from scratch, build your own name, your whole brand. And I was like, you know what, if I didn't take the first step and create my early 2000s
Mm,
badly designed website, this never would have happened. So
mm,
you're right about the instant gratification. We all want that. And in a sense, it is natural, but we should teach ourselves patience and we should teach ourselves perseverance because, in the
mm,
end, ultimately, like I always say, you will reach your goal. It just takes practice and it takes time and it takes these little plans that you overcome that
mm.
lead you to it.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think it's a process, isn't it? And it's trying to love the process and that kind of grind of getting to where you kind of want to be, or achieving those results, whatever it is. um
Hmm.
I think that was my massive lesson, and that's something I learned through podcasting. um because I kind of like to hit the ground running. I like to kind of get instant results. um
Hmm.
I've got a lot of drive and energy,
Right.
and I kind of learned through podcasting that it takes a lot of patience. You have to be patient, and it's a process in itself. And
Hmm.
um, you're not always going to get it right, and I think you kind of have to kind of accept that. You do make mistakes, and that kind of perfectionist kind of part of us sometimes um, kind of let go of that a little tiny bit, because you kind of learn through mistakes. You kind of learn through kind of falling down and getting back up, and it's all kind of part of it.
Hmm. All of life, no matter what you do, what I mean, in general,
Mm,
in your projects or in your life, it's a journey. There is a destination for sure, but in the meantime, it's all a journey and you need to live day by day and you need to enjoy the process. I mean, yes,
mm,
it might be difficult. You might, let's say, stumble. I don't believe in failure. I never did. I believe everything is a learning experience. And in general, whether negative or positive, it is an experience that you learn from and you get better from. And I don't think of anything as, let's say, negative in terms of like going closer or getting closer to your goal, because ultimately um, you see where you went wrong so you don't repeat it again. So yeah, it's a journey.
mm. Yeah, no, exactly. And I think a lot more people now are, trying to I think especially through lockdown, when was in lockdown through that period, a lot of people were
Hmm.
thinking more about what they was doing in terms of work, and what makes them happy, because
Yeah,
like
I
majority of the time, yeah.
I wish it opened up people's eyes a little bit more, because I guess we were all constantly in this like cycle of like work, home, school, eating, going out, and it was like draining in a sense, time consuming. People didn't really have time to, let's not even say meditate, let's just say sit by themselves and think.
Mm,
And lockdown has given us, I mean, it's terrible what's happening, but it's given people time to actually just sit and just be with their own minds and think of their future, think of their goals, think of themselves, their values, their mission, I mean, there's so many things we can talk about, but uh, it was, or it still is, I guess, a good time to really focus on yourself and
mm.
helping those around you.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think that was something that was definitely highlighted. I think that's something that a lot of people have, been focusing on. I know
Right.
a lot of people who've, quit their jobs, or they've, found um, other things to do, like set up a little business on the side, or, you know what I mean, like a hobby. A lot of people kind of
Hmm.
discovered things within themselves, and there's definitely, a silver lining to that whole situation.
Yeah.
Um, I know, like in America as well, a lot of people were thinking about, especially in LA, a lot of people were moving from LA, and really thinking about things, like because the taxes there are pretty high.
Hmm.
I know crime increased, during the pandemic, so a lot of
Oh
people,
God.
thinking more about where they are, what they're doing, and where they want to be. Really, I think it's
You're right. I think it's worldwide. People everywhere are starting to sort of wake up in a sense and realizing that there's so much more to life than just a 9 to 5 routine, or whatever routine they were stuck in and didn't really realize it. This kind of woke everyone up. And like I said, it's absolutely terrible. I hope this will be over soon.
yeah.
But in a sense, it did have a silver lining, and
Mm,
I believe everything does if you really think about it.
mm, mm. Yeah, no, no, completely. That's exactly it. I was just thinking as well, like, do you read at all? Do you read any books? Are you into reading at all?
I love reading. So currently, I'm studying political science in
Mm,
university, and I already have a diploma in psychology, modern applied psychology. For both of these topics, especially, you need to read like a lot. You need to keep up with the news, and not only that, you need to know so many theories, so many different thinkers and philosophers, and I really enjoy that. I really enjoy reading, but currently I'm into, so my whole life I've been reading a lot up on like self-help type of
mm,
books,
mm,
or maybe I guess world history, world politics, economics, that kind of thing. Right now, I'm very interested in energies. So
mm,
I really have been reading up on male and female energies and how they differ, and how you can become whether more feminine or masculine, which it's absolutely natural, and it doesn't mean that to be in your feminine energy means to be weak or something less than of a masculine energy. It's just, it's going back to yourself. If you're a woman, you need to be in this feminine state, which is your power. And for men as well, if you get into your masculine energy, that's your strength, that's your confidence. So currently, I'm reading a book called Beyond Mars and Venus by Dr. John Gray, which I absolutely love.
mm.
What about you?
No, it's awesome. I read his previous book. Um, is it Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus?
Yes, yes.
Um, it's very deep. The the girl I was with at the time actually told me to read it, so I was like, okay, cool. I'll. But yeah, very interesting. From what I remember, and I have got that book you're reading. I haven't read it yet, so but I probably should read
Oh,
it.
you should.
It's
It's kind of an update, like a modern take on Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus.
nice. Yeah, I'll definitely check it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been reading a lot of self help books really over time. I had a period where I didn't read for a while, but I got back into reading, and I read Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. It's quite an older book.
That's great. Yeah.
I read recently Gary Vee's book on called Crush It. So it talks about posting on social media and making content.
Oh.
And I've got a lot of books, but the one I've just started reading is based on Native American history.
Interesting.
So it's called Empire of the Summer Moon, and
Hmm.
it's based on the rise and the fall of the Comanche tribe.
Hmm.
Which, because my ancestors are like Native American, so I
Oh.
I thought I'd get learn a bit about it, but it talks about how the West, how the Native Americans got kind of pushed out from where they was, and yeah, it's pretty dark, but I mean that's just part of history.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
but I think it's important, to find out, your where your ancestors came from and what they had to face, really, in history.
I agree. I mean, your heritage is a part of you, so it's really interesting to look up.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think like you can get so much from reading, you can get so much from books, and you can learn a lot. Like a lot of people say, you can't just read a book and then your life changes. You kind of have to take from that content from the book and then apply it. There's that kind
Hmm.
of that difference.
I think whether you're reading a book or watching a movie, listening to a podcast, in the end, it's about what you choose. Because even books, I mean, you can just choose plain fiction, like pop culture type of thing that sells, and it's not really going to benefit you much. I don't want to
Mm,
say empty because in the end, like it's a good use of your time, but ultimately, like it doesn't really benefit anything to you. So whether you're reading or you're watching, if you choose a really good topic, and you're right, if you apply it, you actually like
mm.
think of the steps or the messages you can take from it and use it in your own life. That's, I think, what it's all about.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think that it can really make you kind of change your perspective, can't it? It can really make you really start to think about
Yep.
things.
Hmm.
Especially when I was reading that Men Are from Mars, Women from Venus. So I was really thinking about my behavior and how women and men are both similar but different. Um,
Hmm.
I remember it describes women as waves and like men um, as like elastic bands or something like that. Or
Yes, 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 yes. It
and I remember,
makes you self-reflect. And I think this
mm,
reflection is really important to progressing forward because you can't really move forward if you don't understand who you are and what's your like root, because it's like a tree, to grow upwards you need to be rooted in the ground and you need to be firm, and you need to get the nutrients and you need to get the water. It's the same thing here. You need to feed your body, of course, and you need to feed your mind and your soul, and that's how you progress.
yeah, no, definitely. I think we're all here for a certain reason, and we kind of have to ultimately like work on ourselves because I I heard like I was watching a video and there's this like psychologist guy, can't remember his name, but he was saying that in the first 7 years of your life, that's your subconscious,
Hmm.
programming your subconscious, and then in your adult life, you're like 95% subconscious, and you're finally 5% conscious mind or something like that. So we kind of have to work on ourselves and kind of program our minds, because of in those first 7 years, we're just kind of like a sponge, kind of soaking up the environment and
Hmm.
what's going on around us.
It's something that's honestly the most important
Mm.
as well. It's about understanding what's within your subconscious and how you can alter it, if not completely change it, then at least adapt and kind of work with it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's where like self-reflection is pretty powerful, and why it's important, because we make mistakes, we might say things or do things, that we're kind of like automatically doing. Until you kind of like
Mhm.
reflect on it, you can kind of see where you need to work on and things like that, especially in relationships.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Not only in relationships, it's we all have this sort of automatic response that we give in different areas of our lives, and understanding it and taking ownership and responsibility to change it. This is what will make the difference in our lives, and to make sure that we don't use the excuse that like, oh, it wasn't me. I didn't like realize I was doing it. No, you should. You should realize what you're doing, and you should fix it because I mean it's in your hands. It's you, it's your body, it's your soul, it's your mind. You should work on it
Mm.
and it's not an excuse. So I believe in self-control, and I believe in discipline, and I believe in progress. And like you said, we're here for a reason, uh, regardless of religion, regardless of all that. But in the end, we all know that we have something to do. So for me, I think it's raising your frequency and just getting better than you were, even if it's just getting better than yourself, uh, who you were yesterday. That's already progress, and that's already something really major. And as long as we keep up with it day by day, week by week, we'll reach somewhere, and we're gonna achieve what we want to do.
Yeah, no, I think that's really powerful. What you mentioned is like being better than you were yesterday, and we're kind of we're in full control of ourselves and how we choose to act and be.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's the definitely the the flip, the definitely the reverse, where people are so focused on trying to be better than the next person or the next thing. Like
Hmm.
especially the big companies are trying to compete with each other, and it's like, well,
Right.
you see this with Apple. Apple are just competing with themselves compared to what their what being better than their last product, being better than
Hmm.
their previous iPhone or iPad. They're not in competition with Samsung or they're so all the other companies, they've got it, they've mixed the other way around, and that's kind of like people as well. You're just trying to. We should just be better than ourselves, than the previous day, not the next person.
Exactly. People have different circumstances. People were, let's say, raised differently. They're in different environments. You can't really compare yourself to anyone else because you don't really understand people. Even if you live with them, you think you know them, there's always something in them that, I mean, it's not really something for us to judge. But
Mm.
we know ourselves. We know ourselves inwards and out and all around. So we know how to actually make a change in ourselves.
Yeah, no, definitely. I definitely agree. I think, and that's where the magic happens, really. When you kind of just work on yourself and really kind of get to know yourself and learn about yourself. And I think through that relationship with yourself, you then will have a better relationship with other people if you have a good relationship with yourself. Because it's like, how can you expect to make good relationships with other people if you don't have a good relationship with yourself?
Definitely. Absolutely.
But no, it's definitely interesting, to talk about these things, and I think it's something that definitely it's quite thought provoking, isn't it? When you start tapping into these kind of like narratives.
Definitely is. And I always love having these conversations. I love people that actually, you know, are open to this because a lot of people aren't. A lot of people don't like these kinds of talks, which I find really intriguing because in the end, it's all about yourself and development. So how could you not be interested? But
Mm.
you'd be surprised. So I really like talking about this. I really like that, I can learn from the person I'm talking to. So this was absolutely wonderful.
No, no, no. You're very, very welcome. It's great to have you on the podcast, and I was just thinking, like, where can people find you on social media? Your tag, your blog.
So my website is called alionashares.com, and that's my name throughout all of social media. I have an Instagram account and I have a Pinterest as well, both of them at alionashares.com. That's Aliona, Aliona Shares.
No, that's great. That's awesome. I'll put it in the description and I'll promote your content for you and share it. And
Awesome.
I think
Thank you.
no, you're welcome. It was great talking to you, and I think you're doing a great job, and the value that you're providing. And I wish you all the best in your university studies and what you choose to do.
Thank you so much. I think it's great that you started your own podcast, and I think it's so great that you're reaching out to people instead of just waiting for people to come to you. And you reach out and you have this great energy, and you have these great conversations and interviews, which aren't really interviews. They're just like this real talk, which I love. So
Mm.
thank you so much, and I wish you all the best. You're
No,
doing
thank you.
amazing.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. It really, really means a lot. But yeah, we'll stay in touch, and if you want to do this again, I'm sure we can. At some point, and yeah, we'll just go from there.
Awesome.
No, but
I'll be sure
have
to keep in touch.
no, great, same here. But have a great day or evening where you're based, and take care.
Thank you so much. You too.
You're welcome.